All right, we're going to be tying the polar prawn in a size 2. I'm going to be using the X410. I'll be using a tan 210 denier thread, and I'm just going to start by making a thread base for my eyes. I'm going to be using extra small plated lead eyes. I'm going to come in before I tighten these all the way down, just push these around into kind of their happy place. I do want to leave a little room up here because I will be tying a wing in, so I'm pretty happy with that distance there. So now I can lock it down, just some X wraps, come underneath the eyes. Okay. I'm just going to get a nice little thread base going here. I'm going to come down this bend a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to tie in a tail. I'm going to be using polar fiber. I've just cut them into little strips like this, so it's easier to manage. Cut the hide off. I'm just going to pull those extra long fibers and kind of restack it into place. As far as length of the tail goes, it's going to be about, length of the shank, length and a half of the shank. I'll come in, just tie these in. Good. Okay, next I'm going to be tying in some eyes. Just got a little burnt piece of mono I've hit with a Sharpie marker. I'm going to tie them in on either side. I tie in the first one. I'm just going to give about 5 wraps. Take a look at its distance. That's going to be good. And I'll come in with my second one and match it. This is the time when you want to make sure you're happy with it, because there's no coming back from it once you've started tying the fly. Okay. So now as I come back, I'm going to start being a little more precise with my thread wraps, keeping the mono on either side of the shank of the hook, kind of flattening it, if you will. Okay. These pieces I can cut off. I can spread out the eyes now or later. I think I'll just leave it as it is right now. Last piece is I'm going to tie in some rubber legs. I'm going to be using Chacon's crusher legs in sand clear. So I'm just going to take a single one, fold it in half, cut it in half, and then I'm going to be tying it in kind of uneven. So the first ones that are going straight back are going to be longer than the second set that I fold back. So just kind of centered on the shank of the hook, a couple wraps. Bring these back. Okay. Great. That way there's just a little bit of a taper there with the legs. I don't like so many square ends on something like this. Okay, so I'm going to bring my thread back forward. Now I'm going to be tying in some flash. I'm going to be using saltwater flashabou and pearl. So it's the same kind of width you would see like on a Dalai Lama. I'm going to tie in one bottom of the fly, and one on the top of the fly. Okay, so now as I am coming back, wrapping over this, I'm just kind of trying to train it so it's centered on the hook shank. Let me get that one. There we go. So before you go too tight, just make any adjustments you need, and now you can come back and cinch it down. So I definitely overcomplicated this fly, but I just really like how it looks at the end of the day. So you'll see I'm going to be tying a merkin style body now, essentially X-wrapping a bunch of fibers, and in between each one I'm going to be bringing the flash over and under. So I'm going to take some EP fiber, just a small clump at a time. There's no real way to measure as far as this goes, but yeah, just a decent amount here. Okay, here comes the fun part. So I'm going to come in, latch it down with 2 wraps, start bringing it back to where you want it to be. Okay, I'm going to jump. Ooh. Okay, here we go. This is the fun of merkin. Okay, so 1 X-wrap the other side. This is really where I'm going to find its happy home before I start giving it more secured wrap. So I'm going to bring it over 1 more nice and tight, and 2 wraps in front. So I will bring over the flashabou on one side, bring it over on the bottom side. Okay, give it 1 more wrap and then we'll fold them back. Tidy that up, bringing that thread right back to the last tie-in. So now I can cut a portion of this off and reuse that same piece. I've just always found it easier to keep it long and cut as I go, as opposed to laying out a bunch of different pieces. It's just easier for me to work my thread through it. So, okay, 2 wraps, and then before I let go of this, so now I'm going to jump that thread to the other side, and 1 wrap there. Again, this is where I'm going to shuffle it back and forth, try to get it as close to that previous tie-in point as possible. 1 more secure wrap. 2 wraps in front, nice and tight. Again, this is going to be now very repetitive, essentially just folding that flashabou over on each side. Give it 1 more wrap, fold it back, and repeat. So 1 more time, just 2 wraps before I let go of these fingers. I'm going to jump that thread to the other side of it. Really not worried about the length on either side. I'm going to be trimming that actually a couple different times. So just leaving myself enough room where it's easy to get my thread through it and not catch too many fibers as I'm doing all this wrapping. Fortunately, now you guys just have to hang in there with me as I continue to do this until I get to the front of the hook. Okay, gotta cut another piece. Again, a very scientific measurement of how much I need here. Let me get it right in the way. It's a pretty goofy tie. It's lots of back and forth. I find myself holding the bobbin all sorts of weird when I'm doing this fly. It's funny. At the end of it though, I'm pretty happy with the result. Okay, I've got about 2 more tie-ins to do here. So essentially, created this fly out of always loving a mantis style shrimp pattern, something with a little bigger profile, leggy, and dies well, a little bit heavier fly than a kind of a traditional bonefish shrimp pattern. So wanted to make a mantis that was my own, and so incorporated a merkin style body into it, and then wanted to add the flash a little more subdued, not just a big flashy wing. So that's where I came up with bringing the flash over each merkin tie-in. Okay, we're almost there, guys. Oh, I made it. Whoopsie poopsie. Backtrack. I got so excited telling you a story, I forgot to fold over. It's all right. Got all sorts of good mistakes to have here on the film. Okay, let's tidy that up. I forgot to bring the flash over. Where were we? Okay, last one. I'll be able to squeak it. An alternative you can use the EP fibers is just a yarn. It's quite cleaner, not having to deal with all these little fibers that are always trying to get caught while you're trying to work here. It's just harder to find a consistency of color and material that you're trying to use in those yarns. Okay, So now I'm done here. I'm just going to hop my thread in front of the eyes and tie this flash off. Save the flash for another fly if you'd like. Okay. So I'm going to finish tying the fly before I make my trim. Good time to kind of recenter it if it's come cattywampus on you at all. But now you can see there's a very cool pattern of flash that's going to reflect a bunch of light. So I'm going to add a piece of black crystal flash as a vein under the wing. So just a single piece. I'm going to tie it in, a couple wraps, fold it over, fold it back. As far as length goes, it's going to go about the length of the whole body. Okay. And to finish off, I'm just going to do a wing of that same color polar fiber. About the length of the tail. Bring it in. Pretty happy with how even that is. I'll trim off the excess. Polar fiber is surprisingly hard to cut individually like this. It's how weak of a material it is. It just doesn't want to cut, even with a nice pair of Tiemcos. I'm just going to tidy that up. Nice clean head up front. Okay, go for the whip finish. Cut away. Okay, so yeah, now I've got this big mess. I'm going to be using our new dubbing loop tweezers as a guide tool to help me cut this fly into the perfect shape. So I'm actually going to pull it out of the vise. Just kind of get the wing off away. And essentially I'm going to come in now and grab all the fibers. Since it's a tapered tool, it's actually going to give me a tapered look. So it's going to kind of wedge that material as it comes forward as I cut it. So I'm just going to grab another pair of scissors that are nice and sharp. Come in and trim away that fiber. Ta-da! Do the same thing on the other side. Again, it's just kind of a trick of getting all the wing and the eyes and everything out of the way before you make the cut, but okay. Chuck one last time. I don't have anything in the way there. And I'm kind of just bringing the point right to the front of the barbell eyes. Come in, just use the dubbing loop tweezers as my guide. Okay. So I'm going to just drop it back in the vise. And I can do any final kind of trim up work that I need to do. Those random stray fibers I couldn't catch. kind of lift up that wing, come in, make any last trims, start training out my eyes. Train back my wing. Now I'm ready for a glue. Oh, we got one more little fiber. Yeah, now you can see that kind of nice wedge-shaped body, flat. It's going to dive well, swim well, keep a thin profile. There's the polar prawn.